Hi, I am Amalie Schaefer with Systematic Excellence Consulting, and today I am going to go over the ClickUp construction management template. So I'm going to show you how to add it in, and then I'm going to go over some just kind of general review of it, and then I'm going to go over and make some recommendations about how I would go about implementing this in my business. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, I'm just doing this in my template space, but you might do this in your operations or client space. We're going to pull the construction management template folder so we get all of the lists and everything in there. So I already have it here, but I want to show you how to actually bring it in. So I'm going to go to my space. I'm going to go to new folder, templates, and if you scroll down, you'll see the ClickUp. You can also click on community. And then I'm going to click on the construction management. I'm going to say use template, and I'm going to import everything, and I'm going to call this CM2, and I want to import everything, and this is going to be that'll be due and start dates will be static. So I am going to remap them. Not all of them will. I actually haven't figured out why. That's something I'm planning to look into, but I wanted to at least make this video because the due dates aren't as important, because I think ultimately you'd be setting your own due date. So, and we want to import all tasks as open. And I'm not going to pull in the archive tasks, and then I'm just going to go ahead and hit use template, and that's going to create it. So I want to show you what it looks like when you first import it. So in order to see that, so now it's going to pull it up. So this is exactly what it looks like as soon as you pull it in. They have two list views already set. So if you click on this, then this is the main list view with showing they've filtered out and just show the to-do status. Then they have a budget where that pulls in the different tasks, the budget that they've set, and then what was spent, and then a custom field with a confidence level, like whether it's on track or it's going to be late or might be late, whatever. Then they also have a calendar view, and so the two calendar views that they have is the calendar and then the schedule. And so the schedule looks like it's pulling from the different tasks here. You can see what the filter is. Status is all, so they've pulled that in, and then they're showing this custom field that they have set up. And then the calendar view, you can see that here, and that's showing the different tasks and what is due, what is coming up. Then they also have the Gantt view, and then they have the Gantt view, and then they have the plan view where they've set different filters. They they want status all, and then you can actually change how it's sorted. So if we want to sort by assignee, then we can. Nothing's assigned at the moment, so that actually won't be helpful. But let's say, due date. If we want to sort by due date, then we can do that. And then it's going to show the different phases. Got it. So now what I really want to do is I want to go over the list view, the main list view. So what I would do coming in here is I would look at the main view. What do you want to see? How do you want to see it broken down? Are there docs or templates that you need to include? And they have a doc in here which comes with the template, so that really could be a guideline for you to get started. Oops, sorry, I meant to click back on list here. Okay, so what I would do first is I'd go in and I would go through each of these tasks that are already in here and figure out, is that part of your phase 1 preparing, phase 2 construction, phase 3 finalize? And then I would come in here and decide, what's the range of, start date to due date? Does this confidence level work for you? Do you want the notes? And then are there other custom fields that you would want to add here to help you stay organized? Maybe it's, a link to where you have Google folder with documents or whatever, right? So that's the first thing I would do, is just kind of set up my view, my overall view, and then I'd go task by task. Now what I would do is I would go through, and for the template in the notes, I might make a note to say that this, how long each of these tasks typically take. So, as permits and licenses, does that typically take a couple of weeks? Does it usually take a couple of days? I'd make a note of that. So that way, if you're using this as a template that you're going to recreate all the time for different clients, you have an idea of where to start this. The other thing you can do here is in information, you can actually set a due date for like phase 1 for that list. You can set a start and end date for that. So let's say you always know, that takes, I don't know, maybe phase 1 takes 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. So you can actually set a start and end date for each list, and that'll be reflected in your calendar. You can see that here, phase 1. And then if we go to the following month over here, it says when it ends. So you can kind of keep track of those phases. So you can put notes in here. So let's say, typically takes 4 weeks. And so this would help, this might be for the project manager who is setting up this template to use over and over again. And you can make notes to make it easier when they come in to start scheduling things. So this phase typically takes 4 weeks. Maybe this phase typically, oops, that I did not mean to do. Let's see, let's try this again. So we go here, click here. Oh, I must not click here. Typically takes 4 weeks. And so this will help with planning to know, okay, this particular phase takes 4 weeks, and then you can measure it. So from February 14th, we'll set February 14th as the start date, and we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. So the due date's going to be here, and then you can set that for the 4 weeks out, and then you can start scheduling these tasks within that 4-week time period, or however long it takes. And then I would do the same for 3. Then what I would do is, and as long as having it grouped this way works for you, you can do that. If you want it grouped by confidence level, you can do that. So that's kind of what that other list, the budget list, is by that custom field. So maybe you want it grouped by that. I would create whatever views you want so you can see the overall picture of this particular project. Okay, so I'm going to go back to group by status because that's where I want it to stay for now. And then what I would do is I would go in each phase at a time, and I'd set up my view. So I like to see empty statuses, and I like to group it, or not group it, I'd like to see it with to do at the top. And then as you go through this, I would want to review all of the statuses. Are these the statuses we need? Do we need an additional status? Maybe you want a closed status, or whatever. You can add different statuses here by going to list statuses and then editing. So either use the folder one or create custom, whatever that looks like for you. But what I would do is then go list by list. So your folder view is like how you want to see it overall. And then your list view is a little more granular, right? So how do I want to see this? Are there other custom fields I want to add? And then again, I would go through each of these tasks. So in this phase 1, are these the steps of your process? If they are, great. Then the next thing I would do is go in here so you can see this progress bar. So what I would go in here to do is also review these dependencies. So if you click on this, it's going to tell you what it's waiting on, tell you what it's blocking, and anything it's linked to. So this is waiting on, sorry, I missed what I was, it's waiting on the contract execution, which is this one here. And it's being blocked by the permits and licenses. So you can also see that this is waiting on permits and licenses. If that's true for you, leave it. If it's not, change it. Then the next thing I would do is come in here and I'd add some instructions, an SOP. If you have a link to an SOP, maybe on your wiki or a Google Doc, something like that. And then I would add subtasks or checklist items. So this progress bar is reading from subtasks and checklists and assigned comments. So if you hover that, you can see that. So let's say there's a checklist, and these are just specific items. It might be, you know, whatever the item 1, item 2. I would add in whatever your process is. I'd go step by step, task by task, updating it based on what your process is. And then that way, when people check this off, it will be reflected in this progress bar. Okay? And I'm just going to uncheck these, and I would do that for each task. So you want to put instructions, links to videos, links to SOPs, link to templates, whatever information is needed for these particular steps. I'd put that in, add any additional steps that might be missing for your process. I would also make a note in how long these typically take. So, if, you know, permits and licenses, if that process typically takes 2 weeks, you need to know that, so that way you can set due dates for these other items. Or maybe you have a main project plan that you can refer to set these due dates, and that's fine too. Okay, so I'd go through each of those, I'd go over the statuses, set the view to how I want to see it, and I'd do that again for each phase. So again, I'm going to review that phase 2. I want to see my empty statuses, and then I want to flip it around so I can see the to-do at the top. And I am going to go task by task, add anything that's missing. I'm going to check the dependencies, make sure that's good. I'm going to add the subtasks, the checklist items. Just those are sort of like QA, just so the person who's doing it can just go and quickly say, okay, here's the things I need to make sure I review. And again, I'm going to do that for the last phase. Once I get this template how I want it, and that's in accordance with my process, I'm going to save it as a template so that way I can come back to it. So I'm just going to go to Template Center, Save as Template. I'm going to call this the construction, maybe PM template, whatever. And I want to import everything. I want it available to all members, and I'm going to hit Save. So now this is a template. What I do recommend doing is having a space for templates, because it makes it a lot easier when you need to go in and edit the template. Now, templates don't automatically update wherever you've used the template, but when you have a template that needs updated, you can go and update it. Make sure that way you only have one version of it versus like creating a new template, you know, and not replacing it. So if we did make a quick change to that, all we do to update the same one is just go to Update Existing Template, and I want to go ahead and find that template. I just hit Next. I want to import everything, I hit Save. So now it's updated. So I do recommend having a space for templates. I think it just makes it a lot easier, because you can't edit the templates in the Template Center. It actually has to be, you know, a thing. It has to be a folder or a list or whatever. So that is how I would come in here and do that. And one step you can do before that is, if you don't already have your process documented, broken down into phases, then I would do that first. Have a brainstorming session, sit down, break out, okay, what are the main tasks? And then what are the like sub-tasks or checklist items that need to go with each of those main actions? And then that is how you would start to build this template. So again, I hope this is helpful. And if you have any questions, let me know. And this was all built on the free account. This is a free template that ClickUp provides, which I think is really fantastic. I am doing a series of these I did project management template already, and then I will be working on my next video is getting things done. If you do need support in getting your template customized or figuring out the best way to customize this for your process, there is a link to book a consultation with me, and you can check that out below. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments area, and I will make sure that I answer them. Thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Amalie with Systematic Excellence Consulting, and I look forward to seeing you next time.